Well, it's middle of February and I got down to Farrier's, my syndicate lake on the Carp Society waters yesterday. Absolutely freezing. I turned up just before Storm Ciera hit and I've had a right result. Yesterday we've had sort of 60, 70, 80 mile an hour winds, trees coming down all over the lake, but I've tucked myself away from all the trees and I've gone and bagged myself a winter cracker. Now, I don't believe the lake's done too many fish this winter, maybe just a handful. So to pop down for my first overnighter to get one in the bag is an absolute result. This one fell just to a little Ronnie rig over about 20 spoms of bait. And for me, one of the most important things in my angling is baiting accuracy. I fished a little spot, you know, and I've drummed that spom down the same hole every time. And for me, one of the most important tools for doing this is your spod rod. It needs to be up to the job. With ESP, I've actually been developing a new spod rod with them for over 5 years now, and we have got the finished product, which just so happens to be the best spod rod I've ever used now. So let's take a look at some of the new ESP products, get this fish back and see if we can get another as well. So some of the key aspects I look for in a spod rod when I've been testing it is the stiffness of it. Now, if it's too stiff, it makes it very, very hard to compress and you seriously lose accuracy. And again, on the flip side of that, if it's too soft, you're unable to sort of hit the clip at distances needed. For me, the action has to be right. It needs to have plenty of power, but it needs to be soft enough that you can actually compress the rod when you're casting. And this spod rod has been perfect through the testing period. So with a big spom, which I use for sort of 90% of my angling, I'm able to get easily up to 110 yards with deadly accuracy. But to be honest, if I want to fish a little bit further, you know, 120s plus, then ideally I'd say the rod compresses best with a midi spom. The spod rod is a workhorse. It's the rod I use the most and which is put under the most amount of strain throughout my angling. It needs to last a long time, and with it being made of a high modulus carbon, it takes that repetitive beating of casting a heavy spod over a long period of time. So of all the spod rods I tested over that period of time, I found the best test curve to be a 4.5 pound. We've also got the standard 50mm butt rings all the way down to a 16mm anti-frap tip ring, which avoids crack-offs at the tip. I only use one rod for my spod in and for my marker in, and this rod is designed to do both. So we have got the foot line marker for checking the depth when you're popping up a marker float. And all I do, you need braid for the marker float, but all I do is have a big loop on the end, and then I can switch between a spom and a feature finding lead in no time at all. So we've also designed the rod so that the handle is the optimum length for distance casting with a nice, comfortable, secure casting grip on the end. So after I landed that fish this morning, that lovely common, I put another probably 10 spods out just to top it up. Left it about 2-3 hours now. I've just had a twitchy little take on the right hander and we've got another carp on in winter. In the net. Well, it may be one of the smaller residents of the lake, but let me tell you, this is a right result, and another fish that has fallen victim to a tightly baited spotted area. So as well as the release of the spod rod, we're also launching a dedicated spod braid and a dedicated marker braid, which I've been testing for the last 12 months. So both the spod and the marker braid are virtually identical. They're both 0.22 in diameter, which makes them nice and thin, and they're lovely and smooth for long range casting. The only difference between the spod and the marker braid is that the spod braid is bright yellow, which helps deter the seagulls from diving on the spod when you're spomming, and the marker braid is green in colour. So during the testing period over the last 12 months, I found the braid to be super durable due to the nature of the material that it's made from. Also, coupled with that, I've not actually had a single wind knot in the whole 12 months that I've been using it. And to be fair, there's a couple of tips that I can give you to help you sort of avoid wind knots. First of all, never fill the spool up all the way to the top. I always ever so slightly underfill it. And secondly, I always dampen it down with water before I cast it out. Both the Spod and Marker braid are available in 300 metre spools and both have a 20-pound breaking strain. To complement the range, we're launching a shock leader braid in both yellow for spodding and green for all your marker work. The shock leader itself is made of the same super slick, durable braid as the Spod and Marker braid, except it comes with an 0.36mm diameter, which has a breaking strain of 35 pounds. One of the key features to both the Spod and Marker braid and the shock leader material is its super thin diameter. So basically that means you can get a really tight little neat knot, and in my experience, the bigger the knot, the more problems you're going to have with crack-offs and wind knots, so this makes it really nice and neat. So for me, a decent spod setup is perhaps the most important tools of my armoury, especially when it comes to baiting and marking with pure accuracy. All of our new products are available now.